game yet, but
Mm.
Portland and New York have also not drawn.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. The play.
I think I talked about that on the San Diego one. I was like, LA is going to win or they're going to lose.
Pretty much.
They're going to score 4 goals or they're going to let in 4 goals.
They're going to let in goals. They can't play defense as of late.
Yeah, they did not look good against San Diego.
Yeah. At the same time, they also came off beating Portland, Vegas, and Orange County back to back.
Yeah, Orange County also does not look very good.
Yeah, Orange County
fine.
Broke in like the last. Well, their defense broke.
Kinda. I think like their like they have less multi-goal games than San Diego, and San Diego has like multiple games where they scored 0 goals.
Phil, we good?
Yeah.
Beauty. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the USL show, which is a podcast covering the USL Championship only. In fact, we don't necessarily touch on a whole lot of League One stuff. This will be fun. I'm your host, Evan Malella, joined by a couple of my soccer friends. Gang's all here tonight. One of your favorite people in the California area who might be a little excited tonight because he has a new team to root against. It could be two people, but it's one of them. It's Alan Underwood. Hiya.
How's it going?
Nothing like
which
trying
one's
to
gonna
do an intro for a team in California when two of your co-hosts are based in California. Love to see it.
Yeah, things are going all right. Group B is very interesting down here in Southern California, Vegas and Phoenix included. So
Yeah.
it's been a fun week. So I can't wait to dig into how the rest of the USL is doing too.
He's a fan of the team that Reno can't beat. He's also locker room material for a club out in the East Coast because, of course, he is. Pony's here.
Yeah, I get myself in trouble at times with those things, but I stand by statements.
You know, hot takes are hot for a reason.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That laughing voice you just heard is Phil Grooms. And Phil, did we hear the interview already, or is that coming after this?
Yeah, I'll say, I don't know. Why don't you say we're going to do the interview now and then intro back out?
Well, then let me introduce Ryan Allen real quick. Hi, Ryan.
Hey, Evan, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm very confused. How are you?
Doing okay. On
Good.
Hopefully 24 hours away from Gareth Bale signing for my favorite Premier League team.
Yep.
Christian Bale, you said?
Sheffield
Gareth
United.
Bale.
Well, I think Phil and I are close.
Christian Bale might be more entertaining.
Yeah. Well, not according to the not reviews of that new movie that I can't remember. The Tenant. There it is. That's the joke.
He
Anyway.
wasn't in Tenant either.
Yeah. Well, maybe Gareth Bale was in Tenant. Who knows? Throwing an interview. Hey, Phil said, Phil, why don't you break it down?
Yeah. Basically, Tommy Hodel came on. He's the communications director for Oakland Roots.
Yep.
To give us a quick intro into the basics of Oakland joining the USL. And Ryan Madden was on the phone to kind of give the league perspective as well. So we had two comms guys talking about
Nothing better.
Right.
Nothing better.
But Tommy did like an especially good job. It's really cool to hear the cultural side of things. So here's that interview. It'll be about 20 minutes, and then we'll come back and talk about some more soccer around the league. And we're back.
Talking about more soccer around the league. Hey, Phil, Oakland Roots. You know what I'm really excited for? Maybe. Nana Adekora and Tristan Bowen are on that team.
Yeah, you know what? In the interview, I said I was going to look into those guys, and I didn't have time. I came home, took care of my kids, and now I'm here. So
Adekora was with DC United for a hot minute. He's 31. He's from North York, Ontario, Canada. Thank you for asking.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you. Was with the Toronto FC Reserves and finished up in MLS with DC United, and then Tristan Bowen, 29 from Los Angeles, so he's relatively local. Former Chivas USA. So they will never die.
Never.
That's
great. Jack McInerney's on the team.
Max there. Yeah. Don't need to talk about him in MLS. It's okay. I'll pass. Former India 11, Jack McInerney.
Yeah. That's how I think of him. So.
And it's interesting to me. I think they're going to learn from other teams. Everyone said it, but I won't, just to be a little bit nicer. Other teams making the jump from NISA and maybe build a little better. And I think with Bowen, with Adekora, with Mac there, they have guys that have done it before at pretty much every level. And I think between Oakland itself, their branding, their marketing, their social kind of conscious-driven brand and everything, and really leaning into the diversity that soccer allows them to have as far as their roster makeup and things like that. And they have a really nice logo. Not an unappealing place for people to end up, really.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, they're going to be able to draw players no problem. Something San Diego's been able to do recently, especially that I hope we get to talk about today, Alan. But Oakland, especially, like you hear Tommy's like the calm guy, and you just hear him like just exude this importance put on the cultural aspect, the social community aspect of everything. And what's cool is I saw a quote. It was like the only quote that the owner threw in there for the USL, for the Brian Strauss article is the one I read. And it was only about social change in the community. That's what he talked about in the SI article. I'm just excited about that to see what that looks like. And the USL is really lucky to get that. And then the other thing I thought was interesting today is Madden retweeted an article where there was some quote saying, hopefully this will be, kind of like, hopefully this will be the beginning of something that will continue. And then I also read right before this started a Chris Kivlahan article, the NISA guy, talking about, first of all, everyone got really excited when Oakland Roots announced going to USL Championship, but no one mentioned a thing about Chicago and NISA. And so I've seen that around Twitter today.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of lack of buzz for NISA, but the rest of the articles about like how NISA is making an impact on the soccer world. And
so it's a lot hard. This is a tangent. It's a lot harder to get into city name, league name than it is Oakland Roots, which is a brand. Like, I can't get excited for NISA's Chicago project because I don't know what in the fuck that is yet. I know who's attached to it, and that's nice, but I don't know what it is. So yeah, I get it, and it was nice that they had a launch pad to get to here, but like Tommy said in the interview, they bought into this and they sold out for a reason, and that is they're on ESPN now. There's already a foundation here. They think they can perform here on the field, which is huge. But speaking of performing on the field, let's talk about things that are actually happening in your soccer world in 2020 in the month of September, right around the middle of the month. Like, weirdly enough, and I guess we'll start here, Memphis 901 FC firing Tim Mulqueen. Tim Howard, 901 FC sporting director, goalkeeper, and NBC Sports Premier League analysis, which is so dumb. He says the results just haven't been good enough. Simple as that. We needed freshening up. So Tim Howard is going to be the coach now. This is so weird.
Is that his like fourth official job now? Third?
Well,
fourth?
yeah, I mean, if he takes it, he won't be the coach. That was a joke, but I mean, it might as well be, right?
I never liked the mid-season coaching change because unless you got someone lined up, like, is there really a point to like getting rid of somebody if things aren't like just absolutely terrible? Like, I haven't seen any culture things. I haven't seen any like things weren't great. We needed to get rid of him. Is there really a necessity of getting rid of someone now with a couple games left? Why not just like get to the end of the season and start lining up your guy?
They've been winning all of a sudden. That's another weird one.
I mean, okay, so
I mean, Memphis 901 FC has one win in the last 5 games. They're currently 11 points out of a top 2 spot in Group G, although Pony will say later about how strong this group is as a whole itself. But yeah, I have to agree with you.
Already.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Alan, that not only just kind of the midseason fire, it's not for not just that, but it just seems like the overall situation of how the league has been this year and the just kind of broader state of, I guess, the world right now, that it seems odd to make a coaching firing halfway through the season.
It's my one thing. It's not halfway through the season. They have 4 games left. There's 20 days left in the regular season.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, to me, this is where you just write it out and say at the end of the year, hey, if you don't go on a 3-game win streak, you're fired. But at this stage, just I don't see why you fire someone with so little time left for any coach to actually make a change.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that on Twitter, the outcry against like why fire him. And I do agree with especially what Alan said. Like, if you don't have someone lined up, then what's the point? But I just always wonder what's going on in the back. Is how much has he lost to the locker room to where it's hurtful? You use the rest of the season as preseason for next year, figure out your roster for next year. There are things you can do. And also, I just wonder too, like, you don't know if maybe there's just like a line that was crossed that they just weren't willing to deal with anymore. Obviously we never know.
What's crazy to me is 2 things. One, you're replacing the guy with one of his assistants. So if you're like, man, the style of play that we had under Mulqueen is really terrible. Bad news, not changing with this guy, Ben Pierman. And then 2, like, how many jobs in the world do you get fired by one of your players? Like, and then Tim Howard, I guess, went on to say that the coaching change should inspire players to examine their own performances. And like, sorry, bruh, but if you guys went up 2-0 and then lost 3-2, I don't know.
And also that wording of the examine your own performances basically sounds like I'm threatening to fire everybody else too. To me, at least, if I know someone at my work got fired and my big boss comes and said, "Oh yeah, we just hope you all examine performances," that sounds like we're about to fire everybody else.
Yeah.
And I don't think that really works well for motivating players for the most part.
And it's strange. I guess they think Pierman could be one of their candidates for the main job in 2021. Ben Pierman, by the way, former Detroit City coach, former Michigan State coach. So not someone that's new to the soccer game by any stretch. He was with Detroit City for 6 years. But like, if you think he's the guy going forward, and you've talked about that before, either wait it out till the end of this goofy season or do it earlier.
Yeah.
So unfair for Mulqueen, if I'm honest, to be fired the way he was and when he was. Sure, they have to pay him out, so at least he won't lose any of his money. But regardless, really unceremonious, really unnecessary firing. Maybe Tim Howard wanted to get that done before he moves on to taking Kyle Martino's job. I have no idea. I'll take any shot at Tim Howard that I can get. Thank you for asking.
I do want to say that if you've watched their games recently, Matt Hundley's been really amazing for them.
Very good.
And he's a 20-year-old American. Everyone likes to think about and talk about Sebastian Soto over in Europe.
Yep.
But Hundley replaced him as the lead striker in the U20 tournament at times. And he would perform as good or better, in my opinion. So seeing him perform well in the USL has been really nice. He's on loan from the Rapids, perhaps underappreciated over there.
Probably.
More than likely, right?
Speaking of shortened seasons, the playoff structure came out. It's a fun one. 16 teams. It's a regionalized single elimination bracket. 4 group winners in each conference earning hosting rights for the Eastern and Western Conference quarterfinals. Following the open round, hosting rights will be determined by regular season record. So basically, Western Conference A1, B2, B1, A2, C1, D2, D1, C2, that whole thing. We're used to that. That's normal. The weird part, following the recommendations of the league's competition strategy committee, teams will see no less than 4 days between games should they advance. In the case of a postponement, the rescheduled match would need to take place within 48 hours of the original kickoff. Additionally, a 4-day match window, so Thursday through Sunday, would be employed for each of the first 3 rounds of the postseason. As in previous seasons, at least a 5-day window will remain in effect for the 2020 USL Championship Final to allow flexibility for broadcast purposes. So what that means, starting in October, we'll see the playoffs, and they'll come fast and hard. Quarterfinals are going to be between the 8th and 11th of October, the semifinals the 15th through the 18th, the conference finals the 22nd through the 25th, with the final determined later after those conference finals, I imagine. So I hope you like tight schedules because there's more of them.
Pony, you have a comment here, don't you?
Do I? But I mean, to me, this kind of makes sense of how it works out. But I don't think this is really different than other years, apart from the groups playing other groups. So we have situations where some teams may have a path that's just less competition is to get to the conference finals. But 1 game a week to me isn't really the worst thing in the world. What I don't like is it obviously means we're not going to extend the season, which I don't think is good because there are teams. Okay, that was half the time I comment. Wait a minute, I think I know my comment is now.
There.
But yeah, there's teams that have a lot of games to play, and we have 20-ish days to play in the entire season. I mean, just looking through it, Hartford has 6 games to play. Miami has 6 games to play. Philly and Tacoma, they have 6 games to play. And 6 games to play is in 20 days. That's brutal on these guys. And especially for some of these teams that might not be a playoff team, but could affect the playoffs. If you are playing someone who's playing their 6th game in 2.5 weeks, boy, they're going to have tired legs, and that's going to be a massive advantage for whatever team goes up against them. I mean, again, I think the season should have been pushed back another week or two to have all these makeup games not destroy everyone. I mean, hey, maybe some team gets lucky. They have a week and a half off between their regular season and first round playoff. But I mean, it's playoffs are fine, but I think it should be pushed back a week. Everything should go back 1 week just to stop this potential of someone I feel is going to get hurt because they're playing their 300th minute of soccer in 2 weeks, and that's on the league. The league should not be allowing that.
Yeah, I will say that last time we had this conversation, we were scared that the COVID, drop from the roster situations was going to continue to get worse and worse and worse. I'm shocked we got to where we are now without more problems, to be honest. But I'm happy for that. I'm glad it worked out that way for sure. So at least that's not a thing. But the COVID injuries, they're like you said, if there's injuries throughout the last several weeks from 6 games and whatever, every 4 games you're playing a game, or every 4 days you're playing a game, there's gonna be problems, and that's still like a COVID problem, really. But I know we're all still happy that we've been able to safely have some games here.
Alan, my biggest problem in this format, not in general, you can see Reno and Sacramento play in the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the West is kind of an interesting. I could talk about the East, but I don't really want to.
Sure.
The West right now, like Sacramento and Reno, we've seen them a bunch of times. It feels a little bit Open Cup-ish with like the same teams over and over and over again. So we're a little bit used to that, but I know a lot of people was like, hey, why don't we just redo seeding after the first round and have some C's versus A, B, D, kind of mix some things up. But I think for safety reasons, you don't. For travel reasons, you don't. But like right now, I said like San Antonio is in a really good spot to do some damage because of who they get. And, if a Tulsa or Austin can get lucky and in a single elimination game, it's like your pathway to the Western Conference is better. And then with Reno, like Reno's like anybody but Sacramento right now. They have to play them yet again, and that might keep them from getting that home field advantage, which if they can get home field, they have a really good shot because teams traveling to Reno seem to have some troubles going there versus Reno traveling away. So I think that's another part that's going to enter into it is with competitive balance is a team that gets the advantage of playing some worse teams more often, rack up those points, and then get that home field against a team that's maybe a better team, but they're in a division or group with, people right now who are just beating the snot out of each other, like Group B.
Yeah, and I mean, luckily this week, there's one happening right now. I don't think anyone listening live, at least youtube.com/the USL show, is watching it. Or if they are, thank you for multitasking. Los Dos and Las Vegas Lights are on right now. Obviously, tomorrow, more interesting matchups. Indy 11, Louisville City square off again. Indy hasn't beaten Louisville City competitively in about 2 years. May 5th, 2018. Louisville 5-0-4 in the ensuing matches. So Phil wants Louisville to win that game. Indy would very much like to open up some space and close a gap. And then the 9:00 Eastern slate, San Antonio and Austin Bold, which, Saturday night, San Antonio could have clinched it. But now they get to do it at home, or try to do it at home against the same team that took it away from them on Saturday. So some really interesting, only because of this format, storylines happening, which is nice. But at the same time, if you look outside of a couple groups, there's really not a whole lot of races happening. The Hounds are in, Hartford's in second place, and then the rest of that group is awful. Group G is an interesting race a little bit, but Pony will tell you none of those teams are good.
Group H is pretty much decided.
Yeah, Group H is sorted other than who wants to be the first team.
I mean, Atlanta United 2 is already eliminated. And unless Miami can turn things around in their final 6 games, it's pretty tough to make up the deficit that they have of Charleston Battery at 24 points, the Miami FC at 9.
There you go. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel bad for some of the I feel like a fair bit of the teams as well that have to play 6 games coming up are like MLS reserve sides, and those are a bunch of 16-year-olds playing these really goofy stretches.
Better than them than like the 20 and 30-year-olds, I suppose.
Better than the teams that like super matter in this race, but I mean it's still not kind to anybody.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Just looking at the difference, I see Birmingham has 2 games left.
Oh wow.
Or no, 3. Sorry, 3. Sorry, but still, that's still stunning. That's that much of a difference between some of these teams. And
yeah,
I mean, we're used to unbalanced USL schedules, but with all these extenuating circumstances, it just doesn't make sense to not have some grace period. I mean, what team's gonna be upset that you say, hey, you get a week off the train to prepare for your first round playoff game?
Guys, is Charlotte living up to what we hoped they could do?
they are sure as hell trying.
I mean, they're in a really, considering how North Carolina's playing, they should be doing this, but the fact that they're above North Carolina, I don't think I saw that happening. But they've only one loss in the last 5 that I have visible here. So
they play like the joke of like, oh, Lily Ball is gonna sit back and just defend for 60 minutes after getting a goal. Like, if you take that, like, okay, we're not getting into shootout with you, but they have pace and they have like they can get out on the front foot and they can still play that kind of conservative style. And I think especially against Tampa, which is funny because it's Tampa. Sorry, Tampa Bay. They get mad when you don't. There's 2. Never mind. Especially against Tampa Bay, they really make that sort of style work for them, or the Rowdies have a hard time chasing shadows like that because Charleston is rather fast, and I think that's maybe the one thing the Rowdies don't necessarily have is a lot of quick guys. So Charleston's been able to get a lot of really, really important points, especially off the Rowdies, which not a lot of people can do when it matters. And then, you know, if they sneak in and get a spot up and then Charlotte stays at the 2, that's their matchup. And I think they like that a lot. I think they like playing anybody right now, but I think narrative-wise, Charleston and Charlotte would be a really fun opening round matchup.
Sure is. And it almost feels to me like they figured out how to defend and they figured out how to make sure Dane Kelly can find the ball in the right spot. Some of that's been him doing his own thing, but still. They got some guys, you know, that's what we've always said. Dane Kelly, Enzo, more, you know, like these, they got potential. They should be doing something like this.
Their chemistry came in late, I think.
That's what I'm wondering, yeah.
But
that's
American
fine.
soccer evergreen comment. You'd rather get hot right around the playoffs, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Especially in that single elimination. Like, I think they feel very strongly, clearly evidenced by finding Pony's tweets and quote tweeting the shit out of them.
Okay.
They feel very strongly that if
I never said these teams were bad. I say if I look back at my preseason rankings,
I don't know if you
had
can say the group is bad and not have that mean that the teams are bad.
Let's say I had the group of the preseason. I actually had 3 of these making the playoffs, but I had them all in the play-in round. I think looking back at my preseason rank, I had North Carolina 7, Birmingham 8, and Charlotte 10. It's like that. When they get paired in a group, that's going to be a bad group, but they aren't all bad teams. It's just it's the best of the mediocre sides to me.
Pony,
Anyway,
all
I'm
I
just
hear is
digging. I'm just digging a
backpedaling.
hole here. Okay, I'm just gonna keep digging for a bit here. But
If any of these social media admins or players on any of those three teams would like to DM me at
There we
SpeakEvanSpeak on Twitter, I will maybe give you Pony's mail address, and you can send him your hate tweets or ship him the trophy if you win it. Who cares?
if you want to send me hate and treats
Ooh.
through the mail, feel free because I'll enjoy that.
That's great. Yeah. Can I ask Alan about the players? I've been wanting to ask him for a few weeks.
Yeah, Phil.
Alan, dude, they're
Yes.
working out in this the second game they played?
For most of them, this is the second. They have they played in they started playing Orange County on the road. So like a guy like Miguel Berry has gotten 3 games. But Alejandro Guido has been 2. I think Tarek Morad's been 3, and Rubin has been 2. I think he has some like he was really hoofing it after at like 60-minute mark, and they're like yelling at him, just 5 more minutes, Rubin, just 5 more minutes, you can do it. And you can really see him laboring. Yeah, I think the sexiest pickup is the Rubin signing.
Mhm.
But I reached out to Cesar Hernandez, friend of the pod, and he was actually the most excited about Alejandro Guido. He said
Mhm.
he's had some injury issues, which has always been a thing with, right? Like you can have the talent, but if you're not healthy, people kind of give up on you. And he said he was the most excited to see how he would recover. And he has been nothing but amazing in kind of like a 10 role, kind of plays behind Miguel Berry. It's very fluid. It's kind of a weird, they went from a 3-back, but they're still a 3-back, and it's a whole weird thing. But Miguel Berry is still young and it shows from time to time, but having Guido behind him, like there's an excitement on the pitch that's new. There's runs that weren't happening. There's offensive excitement, and they're actually scoring goals now, which was the issue. Was never really defense. It was always goal scoring. John Kempen was out. He was recalled kind of from Columbus, and it kind of all hit the skids for a couple games where it was just a injury bug, and losing Kempen definitely hurt. And then Kempen coming back, and then these 4 new signings have really put a lot of life into the team, and they believe in themselves now. They were playing and going toe to toe with the tough Orange County team on Sunday night, and it felt like a playoff match. Like the energy coming off of that pitch was crazy.
What I'm impressed with is I feel like a lot of times these mid-season signings are like acts of desperation and it's not going to work. In this case, it worked like a freaking charm, and I love that. But I mean, most of these guys have surpassed guys that have been on the team for a little bit now, right? Am I wrong in that?
I don't disagree with that. I think the issue also is like you would want Irvin Parra to perform, but he had a torn meniscus, so he's not playing. And the other guys that they had weren't true number 9s. Francis Atuene is great, but he's not like your prototypical 9.
He's
Tumi
who I was
Moshabani.
thinking of.
Yeah,
Got it.
Tumi Moshabani is good, but he's a winger. He's not a striker. So I think they're kind of putting some kids into positions that they just weren't prepared for. And yeah, I think in every team there's guys who don't work out, especially your first year where you're not sure who's going to fit. But defensively, they were always really solid. Like they haven't missed Joe Greenspan. How crazy is that? Like they haven't really missed him on the defensive side. Like Grant Stoneman from League One has stepped up, leads the league of passing, and like Joe Greenspan is missed, but it's not like they're giving up tons of goals without him. But I think it's always been an offensive issue, and they looked at it and said, who can we get? A Rubin is a great signing. Miguel Berry was always a conversation. Like when he got drafted, it's like, will Loyal get him back? Will Loyal get him back? And it didn't look like it. And they were able to put something together. But I think that Guido signing has been, he's kind of been the engine that they needed. Allow Colin Martin to kind of sit back a little bit more and be a little bit more defensive minded. And he's got some good passes, but he's not that number 10 guy. He's more laid back. So there's a kind of a belief in San Diego right now. Like when a stoppage time, they're always huddled up. It feels very much like a family being built, and it's exciting to watch finally. Like this is the team that we thought we were getting in preseason.
It's great. Yeah, I agree.
And now things are crazy in Group B because Orange County can't win, and LA all of a sudden can't win, and Vegas can beat people now, and it's a poop show right now in Group E, and who knows where it's going to be. It's going to be real fun. I think this is the more exciting. This in the Group E. I think those are the two groups that are still really exciting to watch. It's going to be playoff soccer for the next 20 days in those groups.
Anybody else with any thoughts? I'm excited to see Iose's back for Indy 11, which will be big. But it's still going to be up to Nick Boone and Jeremy Raffanello, which is intriguing, but I don't think that's super positive. Because I like Raf, but I don't know if I like Raf that much.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it's just an interesting game down to the end of the year. And so I'm probably going to dig another hole. It's about Charlotte. I also know two other teams did not get mad at me, so think about it that way.
There's still
Because
time.
I think the same thing applies to San Diego and not San Diego, San Antonio and Pittsburgh, where they have not played a bunch of good teams their season. And it'll be interesting to see when those two teams get to the playoffs how good they really are, because there's not a lot of good metrics, and it's interesting. I mean, San Antonio, I mean, they could be one of the best teams in the entire league, but when you're playing, your hardest opponents are Tulsa and Austin, who are, again, average teams. I think they'd be a play-in type side if we had this 10-team season we were expecting to have. Same with Pittsburgh, where Hartford, again, if this was a 10-team playoff, they'd probably be in that play-in group. So it'll be interesting to see how they really stack up when it comes to it, but we'll see.
Anybody else with any thoughts? Great hearing silence.
Okay. Well, I guess you just thought, yes or no, does RGV win a game this year?
No.
I mean, if Portland can, then can't anybody? Like, doesn't that make gives you a glimmer of hope if Portland can finally can win a game, and now Pony can start putting some math together in that group?
Yeah, for the record, RGV finished the season with Tulsa, New Mexico, Austin, and Oklahoma City. Yeah. So far, they have no wins, but 3 draws.
For the sake of our friends down in the valley, I would hope that RGV can find a win somewhere. But with Tulsa, New Mexico United, OKC remaining, it seems like it's a somewhat of a taller order.
I lean yes. I mean, Oklahoma City, they've already drawn twice. So I say and eliminated Oklahoma City on the last game day of the entire season. If they haven't won yet, RGV just has to say they have to win that game. They can't lose that game, which is meaningless to their opponent on the last day of the season.
They've not had a good model. They're just not doing it right. I gotta say it.
Hey, and you know what? They're not the only team.
That's true.
Remember Remember RGV was really good like 4 years ago too.
They were a 2 seed in the playoffs.
Yeah, imagine. Those were the days.
I think I made myself look bad by saying they were going to win the championship that year. They were the 2 seed. They lost immediately and have been broken since that point. So I guess I'm to blame for RGV's struggles.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Right? Yeah.
I jinxed them.
Yeah. Just take that into your week, friends. Anybody, if Portland Timbers 2, if Tacoma Defiance, if they can win a soccer game in the USL Championship, you can do that thing that you don't like doing at your job. And I guess until next week, thanks again for, ironically enough, friend and longtime allegedly fan of the show, Tommy Huddle, for talking to Phil, sitting down, and I'll have to buy some USL branded merch from that club when they're off the ground, or even just do it now, because why not? So thanks for Tommy, thanks for Ryan Madden, as always, for giving that to us and helping us out, letting the little guys have a bit of a platform to talk to one of the other guys that does it from the ground up. You can follow us at the USL Show. Thank you to Icarus FC, Roughneck Scarves, and the Beautiful Game Network podcast for putting this all together and letting us do this every week. And until next week, we have one rule. Well, I'm going to make it 2 rules. Wear a mask, please. Thank you. And don't be a dick.
I'm out.
All right.
Stop recording.
Stop
Exporting audio.
Export the ain't, I'll send it to you, bud. I'll even put it in a folder for you.
Did that answer all the questions that you wanted, Phil?
Yeah, man.
Do you want more questions, Phil?
No. I think so. I'm trying to think. Everyone looks good on the field. Is it just the matter of like adding attacking players that they became more attacking, or do you think something changed?
No, they I mean, I reached out to Nate Miller last night. I was like, hey, am I crazy, or have I noticed some things? And he sent me back quite a lengthy reply, like breaking
But at
down.
the end of it, he just put, but also you're crazy.
No, Nate Miller would never do that. But if you want to talk soccer with someone, Nate Miller will talk to you forever.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
dude.
coach is like
It's
doing that.
awesome.
So I asked